Welcome. So we have now created our DTO. So let's go to the diagram again. So now our model has been created or DTO has been created, which can capture the data which is coming in the request from the client. But we have to also create a controller. Only then our client will be able to make an HTTP request to a particular method inside this controller. So let's go ahead and create our controller. So here I will create another package for controller. So I will say right click in new package and say controller. Hit enter. So right click and create a class called property controller. Hit enter. Great. So let's create just a hello world method to understand how a controller works. So now this is just a Java class. There is nothing special about it. So I'm going to create public string a method say hello. I'm just going to create a string method public string say hello and return from here return hello. That's it. And now I want to call this from my browser. I want to do something like this HTTP because browser is also I'm going to say localhost and then I'm going to say 80 80 and then give some name. Let's say hello. When I want to hit hello, I want to basically from my browser, I want to make a call to my Java class. Now nothing happened because this is just a Java class. This does not have the capability to intercept request coming from browser like here. So we have to take help of Spring and Spring Boot to enable this normal Java class into a Spring Boot REST controller. By doing that, it will be able to take the request. So let's do that. So now I'm going to make this as, or I'm going to give this normal Java class a super hero power to interact with the browser. So what we have to do for that? I have to just say REST controller, and I also want this controller to be able to access request, receive request based on a particular URL. So I'm going to say at the rate request mapping, and here I will just give some name. So I will say API slash v1, and now I will say slash properties, or I can even ignore this and I can say API slash v1, and here I can say what type of request will it be able to intercept. I want to say HTTP GET request. So like we are giving our controller a capability to intercept any request that is coming from browser or a client like Postman, or let's say a mobile app. By using these two annotations, similar capability we can give to our methods. So using this, it can come to one of our controller. Let's say there are 10 controller classes in our project. So using this, it can come to one of our controller. So if I say this as properties, so it can now come to properties controller. Similarly, there can be, let's say, categories. So we can give similar URL API slash v1 slash categories. So it will go to categories controller class. But now if when it comes to one of the class, enters inside one of the class, we also have to tell inside that class which method it should go to. So here, and what type of method it is. So any HTTP request comprises of get method, post method, put method, delete method, head, patch, those kind of methods. But for our concern is get, post, put, delete. So what does a get method do? So we will say @get mapping. And what this will do? This @get mapping will now try to take any get request that is coming from our browser or from the client. But I want to access it under a URL slash API slash v1 slash properties slash hello. So I have to also say slash hello. So if I now save this and start my project here, I don't have to build it again by Maven clean install. Only build it again if it is not reflecting your changes. Otherwise, I can just click on this button which is going to run this class, which was our this class, and that is it. And now what I have to do, I have to go to my browser and copy this URL, and then I have to go here and paste this URL. Be careful, this is the double slash, and then also put the, so this until here it is going to come to this particular controller class, right here. But in this class there can be many methods. It's a get mapping, multiple get mappings, some post mapping, put mapping, delete mapping. So what I want is to have a get mapping class with this URL. So I'm going to copy this URL now, go here, and here's I would say I want to go to this one. So there you go. Now it says hello, which means now we are somehow able to connect from our client, which was here the browser. We are not sending any data now, but we are able to call from browser via HTTP protocol. Which protocol? If you see here, what is the protocol it is using? HTTP colon double slash. So that's the protocol it is using. Via HTTP protocols, what method? Inside HTTP protocol, what is the method it is using? Let me show you. If I refresh here in the network, we can see, if I refresh, go to the network all, you see this is the URL. This is the URL HTTP protocol, and localhost is the computer on which our application is running. 8080 is the port, and slash API slash v1 slash properties is the name or path of the controller, and slash hello is the method inside the controller which is of type get. So if I click on this one and click on headers, you will see, click here and click on headers, you will see it is a get request. Request method is get, and the request URL is this. So who is making this? Browser is making a get request URL to our server, or browser in this case is the client here. It is making a get request to our server which is running in the Spring Boot embedded server, Tomcat server, which is running on localhost 8080, and it is trying to make this method call, not this method, this method. How come? Because it got identified by the help of the URL. So this is called RESTful web services, RESTful API. And as soon as it reached the method here, the method is a normal Java method which got executed. It just got executed, and here the logic says is just return a string hello. It can be here the logic could also be calculation of addition of two numbers, or doing some other logic, calling to another service or database layer to save some information or to get some information from the database. Any kind of logic can be done now from here. So now we saw how to make a connection, right? Connection by how can we make a normal Java class and its normal Java function into a RESTful web service, RESTful API. So what is RESTful API? RESTful API is nothing but a simple Java class function can be converted into RESTful API so that that can be now accessed with the help of HTTP protocol with the help of a URL. So a particular URL is mapped to a function that is RESTful web service. So this is what is RESTful web service. So this URL is mapped to a function. That is what is meant by RESTful web service. And now what this function returns goes via as a response of this RESTful web service back to the client. Here it was the browser. So I hope you now get it what is RESTful web service and how to create a normal Java class and its function and convert it into a RESTful web service using the two annotations REST controller and get mapping. And of course for extra annotation you can use this, but you can also ignore this and run it and just now access the URL with the slash hello. You have to now get rid of this part and you will still be able to access, but it's a good practice to make your URLs more specific and keep versions, version 1, version 2, version 3, because in future there can be different version of the same controller. So this is our RESTful API is just mapping of a URL to a Java class function. So can there be many RESTful APIs? Yes, of course, there can be many methods here in the same class and they can be connected with different kinds of URL to the browser. So can we accept parameters coming from the browser in this? Yes, of course, we can do that. Otherwise, how we will? Otherwise, it is more static. So as our functions accept some parameters, our APIs can also accept parameters, and there are different ways to do that. So in upcoming videos, we are going to see how our controller class can accept parameters from the browser. So this is it for this video. I will see you in the next video. Thank you.